After months of not getting any updates from Deepin, we finally got Deepin version 20 beta. So this is just a beta release, so keep in mind not everything's going to be final. And there's also a distinction between UOS and Deepin OS. I'm not sure if they're trying to rebrand themselves or whatever. And I'm not sure if this is supposed to be UOS or Deepin. I'm not sure at this point, but yeah, so this is going to be using Debian 10 under the hood as well as the 5.3 kernel. And also excuse the 4:3 aspect ratio. For some reason, I can't get it to be 16:9 on the virtual machine, and that's why the performance is going to be a little bit sluggish as well. But right off the bat, when you boot into the system, you get this introduction. It plays a quick video. You can play it and check it out, but it's going to be sluggish on the virtual machine. And then you have a choice between having a traditional taskbar with the icons and everything, or kind of more of a dock type mode. So this isn't really anything new between these two options, but the way that the dock and everything is presented is definitely different than what it used to be. Now, they call it fashion mode. I think they should call it maybe dock mode. As boring as it sounds, I feel like it just sounds more professional. And then you can have you can choose to have the effects enabled so that it looks better, or if you want more performance, you can have that disabled. Again, extreme speed mode. It sounds a bit cheesy. I think maybe something like even something like basic mode sounds a bit more, boring, but professional. And we can take a look that the icons have also been improved. I really like the new icons, but you also have a choice of using the classic if you want. And so you have a good set of choices for the icons. Even though I really do like even the old icons and the new icons, I do think that one thing that used to look better were the previous system tray icons. I just feel like they definitely looked better. But anyway, that's that for the introduction. So really, when it comes to Deepin, it's still Deepin. I would say that the biggest difference here that you would see would be the system settings. What you're looking at right now is completely new, completely different. In the previous version, if you hovered over to the bottom right, you would get this side panel, sidebar type thing. I personally really liked that because it was very unique. But in some aspects, I prefer this one because it's easier to navigate. I mean, you have everything categorized here. It's very simple. You even have a search bar. Like, let's say if you want to change your icons, you just type icons and press enter, and there you go. So and even when you're in the settings, you have a bunch of options. So I think that this is really one of the main improvements. As good as the previous one was, I think this one's just more practical. But when it comes to the actual options themselves, they're pretty much the same. Another thing is applications now have either light or dark theme like they used to, but they can also follow the system theme. But I haven't tried installing any third-party themes just yet. So this is the user manager. You can really easily just click on the plus sign and just create a new one. And I think that this is very intuitive. If you want to change your current avatar, you just click on the picture. It's done. Change password. I mean, look at how simple and easy this is. I mean, then again, there aren't that many settings. I mean, you have the resolution. I don't really have any other options, sadly. Brightness. When it comes to night shift, I like that it has it as a feature, but one thing that sucks is it doesn't really appear in the panel, and it doesn't really give you an option to kind of adjust the temperature levels. So that's the thing. It looks very simple and intuitive. But I suppose one thing that adds to the simplicity is the fact that even though it has the essential features, which is good, and I think for the users it's catering to, they wouldn't really need that many features. But if you were to require more features, then it's definitely lacking some of the more complex features, I guess, that are just not really used by everyone, I guess, but would still be useful. When it comes to default applications, you can easily just adjust them through here. And it's as easy as just pressing the one you like. Now, one thing I really like is their personalization. So there's the light mode and a dark mode, which we've seen, but there's also an auto mode. So I suppose, depending on the time of day, it's going to be either the light mode or dark mode. So that's pretty cool. And then there's an accent color thing. I think that this is a really cool option, and I really want them to implement something like this in KDE. It's very nice and simple. And I personally really like it. I'll just leave it at green, I guess. And then for transparency, there's this slider bar that you could easily adjust. Now, one thing that I personally don't like, and I know that they're using the Kwin window manager, if you make it as transparent as possible, you can see that, okay, maybe that's a bit too much. But you can see that there's this, let's kind of move it to the side. There's this noise feature. I don't know if you can really see that very well. Like if you look at the taskbar, I think it really ruins the blur effect. One thing that you could do in KDE is you can adjust the blur strength, and you can also adjust the noise. I usually remove the noise. I think it kind of ruins the look, and I think if those options were available right under here, that would be very nice. But it does kind of ruin the transparency effects for me here. But I mean, they're still nice. I suppose it helps with readability. Then you have your icons, your cursors. I think they should definitely make a white version of the default Deepin cursor. But it's very simple and easy. I mean, I really like how intuitive this is. It definitely makes switching stuff a lot easier. Network settings, sound settings. You still have your option to disable and enable certain sound effects or all of them at once. Date and time. This one is pretty easy as well. Then you have power options. I mean, you basically have the standard options here that you otherwise would have. Again, this is basically what you would expect for the most part, apart from the personalization that added some extra features. Everything else you would pretty much expect from the previous versions of Deepin. It's just that it's obviously portrayed in a different way. Shows you here whether your system is up to date or not, and then you also have update options, which is nice. Then it gives you some information. Again, in some places it says Deepin, like over here it says, oh, well, it doesn't say Deepin necessarily. Well, it says Deepin here, and then over here it says UOS, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And then you have some boot menu options and user experience program. Now, as you can see, the text kind of gets cut off. I'm actually not going to maximize the window because it's not going to work. It's because of the resolution. Yeah, so if you expand it, the text starts showing, but I feel like maybe the text, instead of being hidden, it should kind of wrap around. But of course, this is still just a beta, and I'm also using a pretty weird resolution. So settings are really nice. I mean, I can't really complain at all. So when it comes to the panel, you have the same two modes. You can choose where it should be located. If you want to hide it, this makes more sense if you're using the dock mode. They've really decided to embrace round corners, which I think is very nice. It looks nice. But I do think that, that this resolution is just so stupid. But I do think that they maybe overdid it just a little bit. I think that this really gives tablet type of usability and type of look, but it's still very nice. I personally really like the file manager. I think it looks really good. I like the way the discs are displayed. I'm definitely a fan of that. Again, the icons are beautiful. I really like the icons. And you have your places here, and I'm sure that if you create like a text file or something, let's try to create a new folder. You also have tagging options. So you can add a tag. Did I apply it? I'm not quite sure. Or maybe you could also do add to bookmark. Yeah, oh, there we go. Here are the tags. So I really like the file manager. I've always been a fan of it. Looks pretty nice. The calendar has been updated as well. Before, the calendar was very not feature rich. It's not to say that it's full of features like, let's see, if you right click. Oh, that's nice. I suppose you can create a an event here. I don't know why I created so many though. Is that a glitch? Let's see. Well, there are begin times, end times. I haven't adjusted the date yet, so that's probably why I did that. But it definitely has a lot more features and usability. And also people wanted the dark mode, which now exists. So I think this looks very good. When it comes to the plugins and the taskbar, you can choose to hide them. And you can also move them around, I believe. There we go. And when it comes to the music player and the video player, they've also updated those. So as you can see, they have a new design and look. And you can minimize it to the tray. They also, instead of shipping with Google Chrome, they're shipping with their own browser. Now this is a Chinese browser, and I think the language is by default in Chinese. Yeah, it's in Chinese, so you can really. I don't even know how to change the language. But yeah, you have that. You have your typical show desktop multitasking view options there, and now they call the App Store the App Store. I think it used to be called the Deepin Store. I think it should still be called the Deepin Store because it seems, I don't know, does Apple call their stuff the App Store? I'm not sure. If they do call it the App Store, I think it just seems too generic. You know, you might as well just call it what it is based off of your system to make it more unique, I guess. I do really like their App Store. Let's see Sublime Text. I always search for that. Yeah, it kind of seems a bit frozen right now. But then again, this is a beta version, and I am using it on VirtualBox, so yeah. For the email client, we have Thunderbird, we have a voice recorder, screen recorder. I wonder if they've improved on their screen recorder. Well, it seems very simple to use, so that's good. I'm not going to actually record anything. I also really like the menu. I like how simple it is. On the left side, you have all your applications. You can easily search for something. On the right side, you have your places. And then you can access the settings or power off options very easily. I just really like how intuitive all this is. Again, if only there were just a bit more features. You have the system monitor, which looks very nice as well. let's see what else. I mean, you have all the basics, you know. I wouldn't say it's bloated or anything. I wouldn't say, you know, I think it has all the essentials. I don't think everyone uses email client, but it seems like Deepin, you know, like the previous versions. Here you can hold and drag to easily adjust the height of everything. Now the way it adjusts, it's pretty interesting. It's interesting how the system tray icons change accordingly. But like I said previously, I'm not the biggest fan of them. And also when it comes to the efficient mode, you can also easily drag and adjust that as well, although it gives you a limitation of how small you can make it. But oh yeah, there's also the full screen version where you can show your applications in full screen, and you can also kind of categorize them here. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to everything else, it's still Deepin. It's still the same thing. It looks definitely different. I think that in a lot of aspects it looks better. In some aspects, I think it doesn't look as good. Primarily the taskbar and dock. I think that those look better in the previous versions as opposed to this one. But as a whole, it's definitely interesting. So it's going to definitely be interesting to see the final version. Oh, one last thing. I forgot to look at the wallpapers. The default selection of wallpapers looks familiar like the previous versions, but it offers a bit more this time, and I really am quite a fan of the wallpaper selection. I really like it, except, I mean, these sand ones or desert ones seem to be a bit of a ripoff of macOS Mojave. I mean, it's not to say that that's the only operating system that can have wallpapers of deserts, but I don't know, it seems a bit uninspiring. But this one looks very nice. I personally really like this wallpaper. So yeah, I think I covered basically everything that I wanted to talk about. It's going to be really interesting seeing the official release. So we'll see when that's going to be released. And yeah, if you have any comments or anything, leave them down in the comment section below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. And that's basically it. Thanks for watching.